Mm. Hello, everyone. Welcome to La Fun House from Pop Montreal. I'm Peggy Hogan, director of Pop Symposium, and I am absolutely thrilled and delighted that we will be having this discussion around Black identity making through music today. Um, so I'm going to hand it off to our moderator, Julie Richard, in just a moment, but I would like to start by reading our land acknowledgement. We would like to open by acknowledging that we are hosting this event from the unceded lands of the Kanien'kehá:ka Nation. Pop Montreal urges everyone who attends the Funhouse events of this weekend to become informed about and involved in anti-colonial and Indigenous-led struggles and resistance wherever it is that you live. We would also like to acknowledge the solidarity that exists between Indigenous resistance and Black liberation struggles, and that working towards decolonization also includes supporting Black lives and liberation. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to our fabulous moderator, Julie Richard.
Hi everyone. Very thanks, Pop Montreal, for the invitation. Hi everyone. Good to see you again. Should we start by introducing yourself? I am Julie. I'm gonna lead that conversation. Music educator, musician with a couple of bands in Montreal. Should we start with Ariel? Ariel.
Hello. So I'm Ari Swan. I am a violinist, composer, singer, also a music educator at times, and work in the nonprofit sector.
All right, thanks, Ariel. Laurie.
I'm Laurie Torres. I'm a musician, a freelancer. I'm a percussionist, a keyboardist, multi-instrumentalist anyway, but I play in bands, and I'm also a translator on the side.
Amazing, thanks. Stella.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me here. I'm really glad to be there. My name is Stella Joki. I am a songwriter, a writer also, and a social worker. So I work a lot with youth and marginalized people.
Amazing. So I've heard you've been working on a song, fabulous song. Would you guys mind giving us a bit of context on how did that come along? Do you have anything to say? Who invited you? What happened? Are you used to work together, the three of you?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, a little
time.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Laurie and I have worked together like off and on for years, I guess, in her band. And then we kind of have our own side project of experimental improvisation. But yeah, this sort of came together in a way to like find some kind of way to combine kind of like discussing, I guess, racial identity or like our own personal identities, while also finding a way to put together music within kind of this weird digital realm that we're in. Although it was actually supposed to be in real life at some point. We were going to do this like maybe an open improvisation or something, but we found a way to change.
Amazing. How about the concept? I'm sure we're going to wait a bit and then listen to it. But for now, how did that song come along? How did you work on that creative process?
All right, maybe Stella, you want to start because Stella was the first person to like to send us a track to work to. So I don't know if you want to explain like how you came up with that vocal idea.
Actually, since 1 year now, I work a lot with a loop machine. So I'm exploring a lot the different voice together, and I like sometimes to have some contradiction with the voice and stuff. So I start to the song to have my inspiration with that, to work with some voices. And we have one conversation all together. And that's really inspiring me. I don't know, after the conversation, I felt just, we need to express so much thing in so much layer. So for me, have many voice all together was the perfect thing to start maybe this conversation, but it's a song actually, but I felt maybe it's just for open a conversation. So it was really my spirit when I start to have this inspiration. And so after I just sent the track, and it's really came naturally. So I was a bit like, maybe it's not that. So I find two stuff, and then I send her, and they listen the both, and they say, oh, maybe that one. And that's what the one I felt too. But we always a bit like, I don't know, we want always do more, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, the first feeling was the good one. Yeah.
And then we decided to take turns, so I was the second one to have a go and like add something to the idea. So
so we have vocals already. So what were your participation in it? Were you drumming? Were you doing?
Yeah, that's the thing. I would have typically drummed, but I don't have a drum kit in my apartment. So instead of like trying to arrange a recording session at my rehearsal space, I was like, I'm gonna do everything here in my like private space. So I decided to sample a Haitian traditional song that's from an album that includes traditional songs from the 1920s to the 1950s.
Amazing.
So it's this percussionist called Tiroro. And basically I took the whole album and warped every single beat to the speed of what Stella had done and tried to find a loop that would match the song most, like at the right speed and with the right tonality. So I ended up with that beat, and it just opened up a whole, like, I don't know, I guess I never tried sampling Haitian music before, because even though it's part of my education, like it's a thing that I don't like think of using in indie pop, typically white music. So I just went for it. I was like, it seems like the great like opportunity to try that. And then from that, added some synthesizers to kind of bring some texture here and there, and sent the thing off to Ari.
Yeah, it was definitely it was such a nice moment, I felt like, because like to Stella's point of feeling like immediately in sync with each other, like we had one conversation around sort of our own musical experiences and sort of looking at how our identities have or have not sort of played into how we make music. And it just like felt like an immediate kind of simpatico, like an immediate sort of understanding between all of us. So, starting with the voices, really felt like trying to create a dialogue between people who we are maybe at a distance from one another, but like clearly feel some sort of a connection. So then, I added violin on top of that. And usually my violin inspiration has always been sort of switching in the last few years. Like I'm classically trained, but it's like a fraught relationship with classical training, as I think Julie, you probably identify with. I think Laurie also has done that too. So it's finding a way to like allow a music that has sometimes been very, I guess has like been more of a trap almost, or has been something that really has been difficult, and finding a way to like retranslate that into something that kind of like speaks to how I'm feeling. So, it was a really nice opportunity to do that.
Amazing. Did you generally anytime, I mean, I see you, the three of you, and it comes to me that I don't get the chance to see three person of color in Quebec performing together, and nevertheless woman of color, femmes. How was that experience? Did it cross your mind? Did you thought of it? Does it happen to you a lot?
Not really.
Yeah.
Barely ever.
Yeah, honestly, barely ever. Pretty much the two Black women that I've played with in Montreal are currently in this chat box. It's both Laurie and Julie, the two people I've played with. So it's been, having something where we could all kind of do that together. That's rare.
Yeah, I would imagine maybe Stella, you're more used to that kind of setup than most of us.
Yeah, I had some experiences. And I realized that you make me realize how it's precious actually, because it's really a safe space. Like on the first step, you know, and this is so worded, and I think for inspiration, it's paradise. So that's make me realize we should do that more and more and more, because it's really, I think, a good energy for us in the first place, but after for the creation and then for the people that receive it. So it was like, yeah, you make me realize how it's powerful. It's really powerful. But I had I had the chance to do that before, but it's always the same feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always the same feeling. You feel safe, and you feel it's easier to be understand and know, you know, like because I used to work with a lot of men also, so it was a different dynamic too. We don't have to be, I don't know, we need, you know, like we were really more in the listening. So I think it's changed everything.
Part of the reasons I was mentioning that Lori and I've like played together occasionally in sort of this experimental duo, and part of the reason that I had asked Lori if she wanted to jam with me and do this was because like Stella was saying, I feel like I was in a lot of spaces where I was either collaborating a lot with men, or like was the only Black person in a band, or you know, was always feeling like there's this extra layer of something that was making interactions like a little bit, you know, a little bit fraught in some ways. And like, this doesn't take away from the amazing experiences I've had with like a ton of musicians all over Montreal. It's like, it's not to throw those under the bus in any way. But I think especially at a time, both in my life and kind of outside, in the last, you know, X number of years, where it's really felt like the world has been very off kilter and very unsafe, finding spaces within like a very creative and sort of this opening where you feel like you can create something with another Black woman is something that I was like, okay, I really need to find a way to do this, because I think that that will open up a whole new level of creativity and sort of, you know, looseness that can come with that.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, Larry, you were saying that you use samples from Asian music, but would it be something you'd feel free to do in other settings, or did you just felt like this time felt right, or it was about what we've asked you to perform or to put outside?
I definitely did it in this context because of the safety that's created by collaborating with other Black women, because that's something I've been struggling with a lot. Like, it's partly the fear that you're fitting into like an agenda. Like if I think of funding or representation, like that serves like the industry, it's a scary path to follow. Like, so that's one thing I was struggling with. But also, as I've told you all, like I am always afraid of like being confined to be labeled as a world musician if I use any hint of my Black influences in the music I make. And I know that's something like a lot of colleagues of mine have faced. And like, I mean, I wish I could break this barrier, but in another sense, like I also need like the work I do to work, and I need to be like, to have energy to face like all these things. So like, it's a constant battle between like self-preservation and like, you know, I'm curious to experiment with that, but like, do I really want to go down that road and everything? So like, I'm just realizing by doing this project that that's something I'm willing to experiment with when I don't have to like prove a point every time I do it, you know, because it's not a point I'm proving, it's just me using my influences and like celebrating the music I grew up to and the music that I love, right?
Like when you're not trying to represent an entire group of people by participating in something. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a tough balance, I find, like in my creative endeavors. I know people ask me all the time, why don't you use Haitian music? Because I'm like, I don't want to satisfy your curiosity. I want to do it because like I want to celebrate it, but I don't want it to be like the sole interesting aspect of what I'm doing, or like I don't want it to be instrumentalized in a way.
Would you feel like it's a bit of a sacred space to go back to your musical roots and use them to use them for your own profits. I don't know if that comes with some sort of shame. I know personally, I feel bad touching that music and having to defend it after. I don't know if that's anything that crosses your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's a question with, I guess it's a lifelong question, I guess.
I understand.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's time to play that song right now, or if we should pursue that discussion. I think we've got it soon, huh? It's coming. It's coming. Wow, amazing. I have goosebumps. Good job. Yay. How do you
Wow.
feel about that? Yay. Beautiful. Does that inspire you future collaboration, guys?
For sure.
Definitely. More Rara beats for sure.
Because I think it was really exciting to I saw it was really a good opportunity to try something maybe I didn't do for my solo project, or it was really an occasion to just push my limit, and I felt like support with my Black sister. So it was really a growing experience also, because I listened the song and I felt we heal something. That's my feeling. We had this really deep conversation. We talk about real thing, with really an open heart. And after we just transmitted, I felt, it's what I felt. We transmitted with music, and then we just share it with others. So it's gonna continue. Yeah. And for me, it's like, with the times it's going on, like to create that, it's just my better statement about my existence, about like the beauty of our roots, the beauty of our humanity, like a Black humanity. and the strong we have, because we still love, we still create, we still share with the world. Even we had lack of issue with trust and everything brokenness, we are able to create stuff to still inspire people and liberate people. And for me, this song, it's my better statement. You know, I didn't even post on Facebook or everything, because this for me, it's more powerful. And I don't have to justify my life. I don't have to justify, you know, I don't have this fight to do that. And I don't have to do that anymore. To go on the public and heal and try to be understood, like my life worth something. It's like I don't have to do that anymore, because this is the proof, you know. We living still the story, still the history, still like everything they did. We're still there. I'm still there. I'm like, you know, I'm mixes like white and black, and I'm so, you know, aware about the word of the black life. And this is for me, that's the victory. So I feel there's still like so much hope, but I'm really aware about like how it's hard. And music, I think for generation was the escape, was the liberation, was the place we go back and we remember we are so more than they say and so more than they see. And this is the remedy. This is a remedy. And thank you, really, like maybe Pop Maria, but for sure Laurie and Harry, thank you for that, because that's really a precious thing we did. And I hope it's gonna, maybe we're gonna do that more for us, because for sure it was like really kindness, you know, it was love for us. So yeah,
it was really healing. Like it was very much, you know, at moments when I didn't feel great or felt sort of mentally weighed down or whatever, like being able to come back and work on this piece and hear, you know, what was being added and all of the conversations that we even had around kind of like, you know, what do you think about this? What idea do you want to try with this? All of it felt like it was something I was looking forward to. It wasn't something that felt like it was bogging me down. It was really like, it was giving me energy in a time when like most things are not necessarily giving me energy, right? So yeah.
Absolutely.
That's big. And I'm just think that I should mention that we all had the option of opting out or of not doing or offering that performance, but still we decided, even though I'm sure all of us are tired, decided to show up and to, this is how much you believe in the music, I imagine, that you would decide to show up again. So thanks again for showing up. And a little word on the, would you think that happening last year would have bring out the same kind of result when there was freedom to meet and freedom to work in a different fashion? Do you see how would that would, to play with those kind of boundaries, do you think helped you try to push it to another level, or does that result surprises you?
I think like having these boundaries definitely made us push it in a certain way. Like I think if we'd all been able to come together and like jam a little bit and sort of like maybe turn this into an improvisation, it would have been very much within my comfort zone. So it still would have been fun. I'm sure it still would have been healing in a lot of ways, but this really, you know, having to, it involved so much more listening, I guess, right? Like really, really listening, really thinking about what it is that you want to respond both musically, but because we'd had such an open conversation during such an intense time, also thinking about like, you know, what is it that we talked about? How am I hearing that in the music? How is it that I kind of want to bring in what I talked about into it? So I do think it really pushed it to a new depth maybe that we wouldn't have had within sort of our normal comfort zones.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the time to work on this piece as a non like simultaneous like one-time event. Like at least for me, especially in the context of these days, like just sitting down and taking the time to like fidget around with like small details and just really thinking about what I'm trying to like like I guess what I'm giving from myself into like working on this track, like that was a lot more introspective than like a super like volatile like 30-minute event that we would have done live. I think. Yeah.
Was it
Me,
easier to focus on yourself while doing that instead of focus on the result and the effect that you would have on people, because you actually don't get to see the reaction to your piece?
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly.
True.
And not only working between us, but also like working at home, like I think gives a lot more I'm a lot less shy, I guess. Like if I get to do the work
Yeah.
and then like exchange and then work back, like I think there's a lot more. Yeah, I think you're doing it a lot more for like introspective reasons and like as a group, like for introspective reasons between us, as opposed to, as you say, like the reaction.
Mm.
Yeah, I really appreciate
Yeah,
that. That's
me,
been a thing. Oh, no, go ahead. You.
I was like in the first step, I was like, "Are we gonna do that?" You know, because I never experiment to create like this way, and with the COVID thing, and I was like, "Oh yeah," and after we're gonna be in live, and I didn't get it on the first place, but I was like, "Okay, then just do it." You know, it's because I felt in otherwise like I have to do stuff, you know, we have something we have to express, you know, it's like yeah, I felt it was really like an opportunity to express something we need to heal maybe, you know. So I saw that and I was like, okay, I go, but I really like I was okay with the inconnu, because I was like, I trust like it's gonna be okay. But it was really like introspective too. And it was interesting to be able to doing on your own time, you know. We don't have to coordinate to have a meeting, because now on that time we're gonna create something. It wasn't like that. So it was more open, you know, so we can let the inspiration maybe come on the right time and be really on the better way to give it, you know. Me, it's what I felt, because I was like on my home. I felt like, I relax, you know. So it was like, yeah, it was so fun actually.
Yeah.
Like it was fun, like no pressure. It was, I felt, yeah.
I think Julie's point about kind of like not thinking about audience reaction was a big thing too, because I find one of the things that I have like struggled with in my musical career that's not, well, actually including the classical stuff, is like the reaction and like the fitting into the expectations. So like if I'm the only Black person in a room, I'm the only Black woman in a room, there is always going to be a part of me that is worried about or is wondering about or is engaging with the reaction that I'm getting. And like the reaction is not just like, do you like what I'm doing musically, but it's also like, do you understand it? Are you like judging it from the view that I want you to, or are you kind of trying to be like, you know, how can I fit her into a thing that makes sense with what I picture someone who looks like her making music with? So to sort of remove that element entirely and really just do whatever it is that spoke to us without thinking about like, is this going to be interesting to Pop Montreal audiences or whatever, was like, yeah, that was kind of cathartic, I think, in a way.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know for y'all, but I just want to point out that this project started before the death of George Floyd and continued after.
Wow, yeah.
That was a big thing for me because like the past few weeks have been effing tiring, extremely tiring.
We're allowed to swear, like, Laura. You don't even have to censor. This is the internet. We do what we want in here.
True that, but and it was fucking tiring. It was so tiring. And like finishing this project in the midst of everything that's happening, and especially the discourse in social media, I feel like there were so many reflections going on, and like taking the time for these reflections to like sit in my brain and also have that fuel to finish this song. Like it's been a big thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely too. It's been a way to like it's been a way to speak to what's going on without necessarily having to do something that's like a lot of energy, because what I think I've talked to a lot of people about this individually or also together, but like, I feel like at this moment, like Black people can decide what it is that they want to do at this moment. You know, it's like you can either be completely active, you can go to protest, you can start an organization, you can do whatever you want, or if it's like, I need to heal and I need to sleep and this is like my self-care time, also totally fine. Those are all 100% equal reactions if you were the person who's like living through all this time. So this piece kind of became for me a way to like, you know, this was very, very much on my mind when I was trying to put in sort of what I was playing. It was very, very much on my mind of thinking about these really needless deaths and kind of, you know, the tears that I had shed and just sort of the alienation that I'd felt. And this was a place to be able to both heal, but also express that in a way that like was what I wanted to do and not maybe what I thought I needed to do or was supposed to be doing.
And it's funny how this has always been like, well, it's not funny, but it's always been kind of an inner conversation, how like working, like how I position myself as a Black person working in this industry. But then that conversation has like burst out like in the public sphere as we were doing this. So that's a whole thing as well. Cause I'm like, well, that's always been obvious to me, but now it's just like, it's been, I don't know, I guess rendered like 3-dimensional. I don't know how to say this. So I'm like, wow, okay. Like,
We really feel this was a 3D song. Eh? It's like they have 3D, and then for me it was like so the perfect image about the layer of all these dynamic, like this dynamic with yourself, with you and your community, with you and the difference Black community, you and your difference community, with like society, you with like Quebecer society, you and your co-worker, you and your, you know, it's just like so many layers. And they have so many aspects to push you to not be yourself and not be proud of the natural or you are, you know. It's so, but in the same way, on the same layer, we are all so powerful, you know. So for me, this song was like, wow. That's talk too much, no lyrics, but that speak for me. That speak everything.
Was it a conscious decision?
But me, you know, me, I was a bit like maybe I'm the one should like write some lyrics.
Yeah.
You know, when I received the song with everything, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen if I have some inspiration. But I felt like we don't have to put a language on that, because where are our language, you know? It's like where, like in which language we should explain everything. Like which language we should choose, you know? English, French, it's not even my real language, like Creole, Patois. I don't catch my Patois language, you know. I cannot speak in Patois and Creole, but it's like it's not really my father. I was like, which language? And I just realized, like, fuck that, fuck the language, because we lost them. we lost our language. So I was like, yeah, maybe it's stuck more if we remember that. French and English, it's not our language. So maybe if we looking for it and we like why we didn't listen any language, it's because we lost them. So I think that's my bigger protestation for real. No lyrics, no word, but it speak everything in 3D aspect. So yeah, just like listen the song and you're gonna understand stuff. Maybe, you know, you're gonna understand yourself. Maybe you're gonna find back something. Maybe me, I found a piece of me. I heal a piece of me on that. And on this, like last days, that was my remedy. I play on repeat, and that's make me feel better.
I love that. I think we could hear. We could hear what you're not, even though you're not using the words. I think we get the idea, and I couldn't stop thinking of Alice Coltrane while listening to what you were doing, but there's like so many aspects of modernity to it, to what you were doing. Like, would be really curious to see, uh, were you, does it has any link to what you were listening to before you actually produced that? Are you in a period where you were actually musically active, or did that invitation spark some more willingness to go back to work?
Mm.
I mean, I'm definitely in a period of more songwriting than I have been in a while. I was doing it more seriously a few years ago, sort of took a break to work full time basically and just kind of do that for a while. But it's really been, there's been a big shift in my brain of like having something else to say again. And so this has been more of a period, especially since quarantine, of trying to work on music more. So this came at a time when I felt that openness a little bit, and it sort of just further inspired that, like hearing both, Stella and Lori's voices within that, I think has really helped. But I mean, it's all kind of mixed up in this current kind of creative pot that's happening.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, totally. Same here. I'm just, trying to change the ways I approach making music. So that was definitely like something I tried. Also, I didn't play very much. I played like synthesizers, but they're like little embellishments, but I didn't like play with chords and structures. Like I just sampled the beat and like mainly like placed the elements in the track. And that's a whole aspect of music that I'm working on, I guess. Like not so much playing, but producing, I guess.
Yeah,
So it was
song
super
engineer.
interesting. Yeah, so it was super interesting
A
working
Black
on
woman song engineer in Montreal.
working on that.
Dude, Lori is a beast. Lori can do all of the things. She's such a producer and is on top of all of the things. So yeah.
Oh, God. So yeah, it was a really fun exercise to do that, and like as we said, with everything that it allowed us to say without words. I definitely want to keep take some of that energy into my own personal music making.
Yeah. And to be unapologetic. Because
Exactly.
we are music. It's just like we are. It's not like about word music. We are all music. So we should be unapologetic and maybe start to just repost, when they say like word music, say it's music,
Yeah.
And we all from the world. So what you say is like I'm jazz, I'm hip hop, I'm everything. And it's really like on this kind of collaboration, you can be free. And when you are like no limitation, look what we made. I don't know how to call that song. It's not word music. It's not, it's just, it's this song. Maybe we should have a title, a name it, but the song is, it's something else. Because we didn't have the limitation like do on that style or be that style, like art not should be all in square like this. Like this is crazy. They colonize the music, they colonize everything, but it's like no. When they decolonize, maybe it's a good way on music, decolonize everything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be really happy if everything would just be considered the free music, and
yeah.
liberation music is good enough for me of a label.
Yeah.
That's it.
How much work would it requires from an audience?
Yeah.
Would it? Yeah. So you're pretty much answering the question that I was going to ask you if you'd put any label on your music, but I guess you've answered. And yeah. Would you have anything to add to that? I don't want to cut you, but we might, if I can, play the song again and then open to question from public and keep on talking. Maybe. We'll do that in a couple seconds. Once again, huh? So good. Did you came up with a title for that song, or you did not?
No.
No.
He did not. I'm woefully bad at titles, so I'm going to throw this to everyone else. I'm just like pithy things, clever. Nope, not mine.
So we're not gonna be able to find that later, I guess. Huh?
I don't
I'm
know.
thinking maybe a little bit of self-promotion, if maybe a couple of drop of email or information so people are able to follow you after if you ever decided to do something with that piece, because I think no pressure, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's a good idea, though. It didn't even occur to me, like, what happens to this piece after?
Of course, Pop Montreal is gonna make all that information available.
All right.
You need to say something, yeah, right after. Stay connected. And I see
Yeah.
people from the audience, from the interweb, asking to make it available, so that doesn't come only from me. Just so you know, people are asking.
All right. They like it. Yeah.
Give the people what they want.
Right.
Oh, that's very beautiful. So I guess if you have any question for us, that would be a good time to send it in our way. If not, before we go into that, I know we kept the discussion around that piece, and we kept the discussion around you three guys, but I'm thinking when I hear the piece, did you, because I know Ariel, you sing too, because I've heard you sing before.
Irene, you
Yeah,
sing
she
too.
does.
Oh, that's why I
Mm.
could hear some more vocals, because you're doing all those tracks of vocals. But I thought maybe I'm hearing Ariel in the back, so that's why.
Mm.
Oh, you're keeping secrets.
I know.
But
I'm
that's
awful self-promoter.
interesting.
Yeah. I do sing. Violin's like the thing that I'm trained on, so it's like when people ask what I do, that's what I say. But yeah, part of my songwriting process always involves singing in some way. And I mean, I did think, I was like, okay, maybe I'll also add some vocals onto this or something. But like, I felt like the vocals that you did, Stella, were so complete and so really like encompassed what we talked about. I was like, there's no need. Like, I could add something, sure, but like, there is no need. So
Definitely.
Mm.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm shocked. Then it's even more it's that those vocals are precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because it was three voice. I worked with three voice, so maybe it was symbolic, but it was us, maybe.
Yeah.
I should drop in a first question before we go any further with that. So, someone's asking, Peggy. Peggy's wondering if you can chat a bit more about the discomfort of genre. How do you each navigate balancing the way that the racial shorthand of genre projects the way your music is received as Black folks by the industry with your own authentic vision?
Aha.
Yeah, that's a very real question. I mean, I'll start and definitely say that it's been one of the like parts of me like growing up in a sense as a musician in my 30s has really been to let go of the idea that I need to find a genre, because at first it was like my background is classically trained. The milieus that I've always kind of gone in tend to be like quote unquote white music, which like whatever that means, right? Like I don't get to have all the music, but nevertheless, like that's been how I've been participating in music. And so it's always been really hard to find a way to, create music where I feel like it will, there's like a disconnect, I think, often where like people will meet me and then they'll sort of hear the music that I'll make, or they'll like hear that I'm a violinist and classically trained, because most of the time they're like, so you're a jazz vocalist? Are you sure you're not a jazz vocalist? Like there's like there's no room for me to do what it is that I do without people being like, oh, that's very interesting. So I mean, I think kind of like giving up on the idea that I need to participate in any genre is has been great, but there's also like, it's, you know, I'm not a trailblazer in this. There's definitely a ton of Black musicians of like all genders who are really just pushing the boundary and doing like whatever the fuck they want to do and creating whatever they want, and really kind of like, you know, just paving this way of being like, I don't really care, I can create whatever I can want. And there's also tons of people that did it before too, so I'm just like tapping into some of those folks who just really did not give a fuck and just like did what they needed to do to express themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Whoops, go for it, Laurie.
No, go for it. I wasn't sure.
I was gonna push saying that I also see a lot of people not caring too much about where to fit and what their freedom is to do with their music, but isn't that harder in Quebec? I mean, because where are you gonna find your money? Where are you gonna find your fund? You know, it's like you sort of have to go through little cracks and make decisions if you want to pursue, because you sort of need to. I don't know if you get my questions.
Yeah, no, 100%.
My French is missing, but yeah.
No, that, and it makes sense actually, because I'm in a very privileged space in which I'm at this point doing music in addition to working full time. So I kind of get the, you know, to have that freedom because I'm not doing music for any kind of financial support, really. So, I mean, yeah, that is a fair point, as I think, and that was something that when maybe 4 or 5, whenever years ago, when I was doing music more full-time and I was teaching full-time music and I was doing that, and that was a wall that I was coming into, is I felt like a lot of the gatekeepers, as it were, the folks who I kind of needed to start to go through in order to like either apply for funding or do this particular festival or do that or do whatever it was, like there was such a big disconnect in like perhaps the kind of music that I was making, and like being hard to categorize, that it was a lot harder. Like, you know, you'd either find myself in like boutique showcases of like, you know, here's like the women who are making music and this is the night that we're playing them, or like here's our celebration of diversity and this is the night that you get to play. So like yeah, that is a fair point, Julie.
Yeah, I would say to that the way, I don't know, I feel like I'm lucky to not have to struggle with that, because the work I do in the Francophone music world is freelance. I'm not writing music in French. I'm not like, I'd never had a band that, like my own band that was like working in the Francophone world. And I think there's quite a lack of diversity there, but also like the danger of being categorized as world music is a little bit bigger, I find. So it's a tough struggle for me, but because I'm definitely like a French speaker in the first place, but I see the limits of that creative environment. And also it's super difficult because it's also the environment in which I work, in which I love working. So like, there's certain things that I don't feel represented enough to be fully safe to express in a way. So I don't quite know how I'm like, my thinking around that, but there are for sure differences. There are for sure differences in the amount of diversity.
Do you think it's changing at all? Do any of you think that it's like, compared to, I don't know, either when you first started making music or in the last like 5 years or 10 years, is it like, is there starting to be a shift maybe to openly talk about this, change it?
Most probably, but like I see a shift for sure in terms of gender.
Yeah.
Like gender issues have been a lot better, and like they've been discussed in broad daylight by everyone, like small artists and bigger artists. So I feel like the conversation's evolving a little bit faster, but the representation is there. It's more present, you know.
The gender, eh?
I don't see myself as a black
gender,
person.
White gender.
C'est ça. I don't see myself represented as a black person, but I see myself represented as a female identified person. So is that.
So yeah, you can have, Like we can shortcut there.
Bah, c'est ça.
Julie, what do you think? You're like really active in so many of the different scenes. What do you think?
What do I think?
I'm turning the tables. I took the question
problem
asking.
most likely a different one. I don't do much pop music, I would say. I definitely, I'm someone you can call and I will come and play. So I do a lot of world music. And I don't know. I play festivals. I don't see things changing. I try not to have many conversation because I want to. I try to focus a lot and shut down.
Yes.
I would say I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want people to tell me. I don't want to be asked if I sing one more time. I don't want to be asked why I don't go play jazz. Even though I do. You can call me, but I think that being 40 years old now, I get irritated. I don't have the same type of patience. I want to play. I love what I'm doing. I hope I'm inspiring. I think I put myself into a lot of pressure because I really want to be seen. I really want younger generation to know that they can do it. They can do it the way they want, and that's why I never stop myself from like. I really travel from a side to another side musically, and sometimes I do think I should maybe I don't know maybe I'm not totally vibing with, but I do it just to show. I just feel I need to show up.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking
It's
I'm
true.
active. Somebody's gonna see it. Someone's gonna have. It's gonna spark something in someone, and things will happen. Things will change. But if I'm here performing, that means, I mean, it is possible. It is definitely hard. Maybe it's getting easier, but I'm getting more sensitive.
Yeah.
I have way less of a tolerance. Like, yeah. I think,
Impatient, but a patience.
Exact.
yes. Guys, we have another question. So, can we expect any new original music from you in the near future, either together or individually?
Together would be fun.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, for sure.
It
I
was
would like
definitely
this.
Yeah, it was our first try, but like it'd be great to continue collaborating. Maybe I'll get to play with Ari sometimes again.
Yes.
Because we had started that before the pandemic. Just doing improv. It was actually super interesting kind of doing improv music with you. Which is something I had never improved full on for a show. And that's something that feels very good to occupy the space with like your physical connection to the music making. So I really want to get back to it when we can have shows again. Individual music. Let's see what happens. The pandemic's been good for that, I guess, for like allowing people the time to play if they want to, and I definitely have working on songs.
Right.
See what happens.
We'll see. I hope so. I'm hoping to like keep working on some of the songs I'm writing and then start passing them along to friends, honestly, like folks and collaborators, and just kind of be like, what do you hear? What do you think? Because sometimes I get too stuck in like, my own little bubble of composition or whatever, and just like stuff just runs through my head over and over, and I can't unhear it how I'm hearing it. So like getting other perspective will be something it's next
Send them
steps.
to us.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can expect that.
Love it.
Stella, are you working on something?
Yes, I do. I have to. So I have time. I take time to create, to be inspired, to be. So yeah, I don't know where I'm going, like the rest of the world, maybe, but we are going somewhere. I trust the process, And I hope, we will have the chance to speak out our voice together again.
Mm.
Yeah. I do have another question coming. You mentioned that removing the stigma of having something be labeled world music. Removing labels completely would be liberating and expressing your identities, and also liberating for music creation in general. Are there other specific things that could be broken down to nourish this kind of creation? I guess basically, if you could re-envision a new order of things, what would that look like? And yeah, that's a question from Joy. Why?
First of all, Joy Wei, I love you so much. Just want to put that out there. That is a really good question. I mean, I don't know what this would look like. I think maybe how the music is presented or performed in a certain way. Like, I think that can be something that, at least on my end, I have found difficult, I guess, to figure out like what's the form in which you want to present it, not just because of like how you'll be categorized, but like who gets to hear it, who gets to be part of your audience. Like, how do you sort of break down a bunch of these silos that we find ourselves in? And I'm sure some of it is, as we've mentioned, a little bit related to our particular environment here, but I think probably it's like a big phenomenon. I think a lot of us have talked about in audiences, especially when you know, if you're doing free jazz or you're doing any kind of experimental thing, like your audience is going to be almost all sort of like middle to upper middle class, overly educated white folks. And so how do you figure out a way so that you can break this down a little bit and create, you know, more of a conversation with more people? Might be part of it.
To bounce off of that, like for festivals to not have all the people of color on the same showcase and have them happen at the same time would be fucking amazing. That's a huge thing, and it's so simple. Simple.
We should try to have a jazz festival with all jazz, Black women, Black musicians
the whole time,
and then maybe have another backstage, you know, for these one they play jazz too. I don't know.
Yes, another question. Were we done with that one? I think that was quite complete. Someone asking, anonymous. Rather than genre, what do the panelists think of asking artists to really consider the ancestral traditions of what they're playing, and also pressure streaming services to reconfigure the algorithm that narrows music into these finite genres?
But I think that's the prison we are in, human, you know. It's like if we cannot control, like if we cannot have control on something, we didn't have like the bravest to go. We're so fear about like what you cannot like control, what you cannot handle in the first time, you know. And I feel all this music category, it's why it's that, because there's some people like approach the music like, okay, she's jazz, okay, so I can listen jazz, you know, but maybe you don't like all jazz song, but it's like, okay, it's jazz, so I'm gonna let a chance, you know.
Yeah.
And I think it's like it's a kind of a prison, because it's like they have some people, they really want to listen only that, and they don't like ready to experiment music. They don't ready to come with in the trip, you know. They cannot. It's too big, too infinite, too divine. Maybe they're like, no. I need to handle the stuff. I need to listen something I heard before, you know. So that's really also an ignorance about music for me. I'm sorry to maybe, but they have so many people, they don't understand music, because maybe we didn't approach the music, you know, with the roots of music, or maybe we didn't teach, you know, how to to feel music. Maybe it's the problem. Because people, they are like, they want to eat music, like they have fast food. And that's really, for me, that's a sickness. That's a sickness. And us, like artists, it's like, it's a danger for us to follow that, because you lose your inspiration on that way. You lose like all the magic. Maybe it can happen when you create something, you don't know what's going to happen. This is the goal for me, you know? It's all about music. It's like you experiment sensation, emotion. They have something, it's a travel, you know, you go back from the past, you going in the future, you come back in the present. That's music for me. It's an universe. Oh, you can control universe.
Yeah.
So me, like as an artist, it's like, this is really my responsibility to fabric fast food for people. But they put me on this dilemma, like, oh, I'm gonna pay my rent, you know? If festival industry, they want fast food. And I'm not a fast food cook. I like to marinate my meat and everything, you know? It's like, so I'm like, this industry are so racist. That's their problem too. And then they appropriate music and then they make money with the music and everything. But the real one, like, always put this style on the world, you know, they create this, like we give this, we share this, and we still have the spirit, because we don't, even they don't teach us this. We know that we are the teacher, but they shut down, they cut off, you know, they don't want to see us on the festival. They don't want to see us on the radio. They don't want. And I'm like, why? Because you listen jazz, you like it. Yeah, no. So for me, this is me. I take that time for real now. I thinking about a lot about like how I'm gonna do, like as an artist, like the way I want to create. It's because I want to be free. I decolonize so many stuff. I saw stuff clearly, so many things I can see clearly, and then they cannot catch me anymore. I know, but otherwise, I still have a rent, so I'm stuck in two frequency, you know. But this frequency, it's not the music frequency I want to encourage. I want to be in. That's not mine. That's not that. And we need to change this frequency. I want to listen radio with good music. I want to listen radio. They make me think. They make me like, you know, realize stuff. I cannot have music. We know already what they say. We know already what they're talking about. We know already the melody. We know already everything. It's so dull. It's like, we're gonna die, you know? It's like, this is really like, this is an emergency. It's like for music, for real.
Yeah.
So I think so many people have to ask questions, to have them question. And it's not for us artists to give answer again. Like we did our part. For me, it's that, like industry, festival, everything just has the good question. Because you already know the question, because we asked this question since years, you know. They have generation before us, Black artists before us. They didn't get the rent paid, the same stuff, but the talent was there, the inspiration was there, and the jazz festival like appear. That's it. That's the story of the Black music in Montreal, and it's still. So for me, it's like, do your homework, do your stuff, but if you want to be inclusive, like ask question for yourself. And it's not for Black artists to give answer again. It's like, we need to heal, we need to create, let us like be artists and make the politic. It's not us. No. It's like, I'm finished. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. That's what the truth I felt. Yeah.
I think I'm sort of reading what the person asked the question and trying to, like, it's sort of a broad question, I feel like, which is why I'm having a hard time like thinking of a specific answer. It feels like they're sort of asking around ideas of cultural appropriation, or what would be sort of like the best way, I guess, to remove I guess strict genres or something like that. I mean, I guess like more asking, I think, as opposed to like considering ancestral traditions, which I think can sometimes be kind of fraught because there's the actual roots of music come from so many different places. And I think trying to nail that down can kind of force you to be in this sort of false authentic kind of thing, or this false narrative about what it is. I think looking more about like, you know, and really to Stella's point, kind of like who makes money off of what kind of music is played by who, but promoted by who, what kind of behavior within music is considered, you know, innovative by one group and not, you know, and like inappropriate by another group. Sort of like looking at how the larger social issues that we find play out through music, I think is probably more important than necessarily always understanding like this is the precise, you know, sort of trajectory of how this music was created. I think will be more helpful because it feels like the goal of that question is like, you know, how do we create something that's a bit more like inclusive, but also sort of takes away from this element of like, you know, being able to participate in an art without like engaging in its history. I think that's probably the more helpful way, is to like look at what's happening on like the everyday level now. And I mean, probably pressuring streaming services, but also like pressuring them to pay people fairly is also going to help even more so than anything. Like the genres and the algorithms, like for sure, but like making sure that like, you know, marginalized artists are making money and they're the ones that are getting the money and not like $2 for every 200,000 streams or whatever it is. I obviously don't know what it actually is, but like, I think that's probably the most helpful.
Yeah, and in terms of genres, it's also interesting to point out that it, apart from the streaming services, it also goes into like the recognition of artists. Like awards are given by genre and things like that, and like that to me has always caused a little bit of a problem. I don't know how it could be done, but like for instance, it's been like a decade-long fight in Quebec for Black hip hop artists to be recognized in that category. While there's so many white artists that get prizes every year in hip hop, the majority of them, and like that's a problem. So like, how do we?
It is.
I mean, obviously, like the award system is also like funded. Like the labels have to pay for participants to be considered. Like, so it's a whole system. So as well as like narrowing artists by genre, we're also like reinforcing the genre by the way we salute good artists. So that's another layer on top of that.
Totally.
So many layers.
Yeah.
Making sure that we have no more unanswered questions. No. So I think maybe time to wrap up. And if you have one last thing to say, I would say go for it. Huh? Anything? Thank you so much for being there. I know like it brought me back so much energy, even though I could have slept through the day, but I'm glad we spent that time together. And wait, one last. There was just a contribution saying genre is extremely important for being recognized by grant as well.
Indeed.
Indeed. Definitely.
I mean, I would just say thanks to all of you folks here on the panel. Like,
yes,
you guys are amazing musicians and humans. And, you know, as Julie said, I'm hoping that having us all be here and have these conversations and be on stage and find ourselves in these places will inspire like other people to also do the same. So maybe there won't be one of us, maybe one day there will be 3, you know what I mean? Like the numbers are just going to keep getting more. So
yeah, thank you so much for collaborating and creating this space that's so important to me as a musician, like as a working musician and as a music lover. These spaces are important for me, and not everybody can understand it. Most of my coworkers can't understand to what extent they are. So it's nice to share that space with people who understand, who get it, right? Without me having to explain. But thank you for watching, everyone who watched. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words that we're reading on the window.
Thank you so much for this precious time, like Girls for Creation, but also now for this discussion, because I think we're still healing, you know, we have so many years to heal, so we still. And this, I think that's I wish more Black women on Quebec scene.
Yes.
I wish to
Please.
see that, because me, when I was like little, I was really wondering why I didn't see myself. And that's pushed me away music for sure. Because I didn't heard myself anywhere, you know, my kind, you know. So I felt like maybe I'm not a singer, but I was. You know, so I hope more Black women in Quebec, because we are there for so many stuff. And we make this society breed. So we need to be seen. And when it's gonna happen, this city, this Quebec, I don't know, it's gonna be so much better. You know, Black woman, Black native, you know, woman from the hurt. We need to end this. It's a calling, you know, for us maybe, but for all women, they see that right now. And even the genre, you know, I'm not talking about women like bodies, you know, it's not that, it's beyond that, you know. So, but this creative energy and Black energy, you know, people like from always. So yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, also.
Thank you, Julie.
So guys, afternoon.
Okay.
It's gonna be this awkward ending of.
I know. I might do it. I might be the one that's it's like